going on, man? How are you?
It's opening day.
Yeah, but no, that's not till June 4th. June 4th is opening day. Yes.
I don't know what you're talking about, but baseball's opening day is actually today.
Oh, right. I was talking about The Acolyte, which is opening on June 4th on Disney Plus. Said like a true shill.
No, it's not. Then that's fine, but it's opening day. You know what that means, right?
That means that hockey playoffs are just about to start. I could not be more excited. Flyers have a shot.
No. I appreciate your confidence.
Yeah.
What it means is that my Atlanta Braves are going to immediately open and start whooping on your Philadelphia Phillies.
I was afraid that's where you were going to go, and as a result, I am ready to make some sort of a wager. Would you like to make a wager, some sort of a bet on this season with the Braves and the Phillies?
I 100% want to make a wager, and here's what we're going to do.
Okay.
For every game ahead of the Phillies that the Braves finish, or vice versa, we're going to turn that into $2.
All right.
Per game ahead, and we're going to buy the other guy a Star Wars collectible for whatever that price is. So if the Braves finish 15 games ahead of the Phillies,
right,
you're going to buy me a $30 Star Wars collectible of your choosing.
So I'm hoping for like a 60 game lead by the Phils so I can get like a Rex helmet from you or something.
Half of a Black Series figure.
Right, half exactly.
So either way, somebody's going to get something fun. And I think that's what we do. How does that sound?
I'm good for that. Let's do it. And this is ATGLive. Well, welcome to the all-new ATG. Can we say all new? It's been 3 months, but it's still new to me, new to you, new to us, new to some of you.
It feels exciting.
Yes, it feels new and exciting. I'm loving it. But it is your Thursday night home for all things Star Wars news, conversations, and guests. I'm one of your hosts, Pete Fletzer, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Nick Milkey. Sports ball season is in fact underway. Looking forward to it. We also have like some basketball stuff, right?
There is, and we have a tournament bracket that I told you I would check before this started. In fact, let me do it right now.
If it's not too difficult, just to see how we're doing. We have, for the first time ever, we have this SWNN basketball tournament.
Right. We have the network Star Wars bracket tournament situation. I think the things everybody's most interested in are where you and I stand in this. We had 23 people enter our bracket competition.
Yes.
You, sir, Mr. Fletzer, are ranked 10 out of 23.
Solid 7.
I am lower than you.
Okay.
Well, in first place is someone with a name that says ESPN fan and a lot of numbers, so I'm not entirely sure who it is.
It's a Russian.
As I look down the list, Matt Harrington is in fourth place. My friend Scott Phillips, who is here in town, is in fourth place.
Fantastic.
Jeff Quaglio, friend of the show, also in fourth place. So there's still time. Sweet 16 starts tonight. People are playing basketball. Baseball is starting. Hockey's still going on. If you're one of that small cross section of people like you and I who love sports and Star Wars, there we go.
Lots going on. It's the perfect time of year. Before we get started, I do want to throw a quick shout out to a friend of the show, one of our patrons, Benny Relp. Benny went in for a quick surgery yesterday, or maybe it was today. I can't recall. Actually, I think it was 2. But anyway, he may be watching on his phone in a hospital bed. And if he is, thanks for hanging out with us, Benny. Godspeed, good luck, and I'm sure everything's going to be great. But luckily, you'll still get your Star Wars news headlines because there has been some Star Wars news this week, like the Acolyte trailer. Believe it or not, it got attacked by some internet trolls.
Imagine that. Trolls out attacking things because people like to be happy. Weird.
Makes no sense.
Speaking of people liking to be happy, Hasbro has announced that they are bringing some of the old EU back. People who are our age and fans that grew up in a certain time frame, getting a little bit of love from Star Wars and some of those toys.
That's right. And our friend Katrina Dennis sent us her take on her favorite character and possibly some of yours. We are going to be hearing a little bit about Asajj Ventress from her. Plus, we're going to be joined by Clayton Sandell, whose birthday, I believe, is today, on top of everything else. And S.T. Bende, who I've been saying her name probably wrong for the last 2 weeks. But not only are they going to talk about their amazing Return of the Jedi visual archive book, and we're going to put that pre-order link in the chat. But we're going to be doing our first ever trivia night tonight.
Exciting. A little bit of Return of the Jedi specific trivia, appropriate for the evening. We're going to get into that in a little bit. Pete will tell you how you need to play that, how to log on. We're going to put a link up so that everybody can get plugged into that.
Everybody's got a shot.
Speaking of links, if this is your first time here, welcome. We are glad to see you. We are always asking folks to share us out, bring in some other people who love Star Wars, who like having fun, who like hanging out and laughing. We're at 974 subscribers on YouTube. We have kind of been slowly pushing towards that vaunted 1,000. We would love it if you could help us get across that finish line. That would be loads of fun. But most importantly, we're glad you're here, and we love hanging out on Thursday nights and spending this time together.
Absolutely. And we also like hanging out with you on social media. Maybe some of you don't love hanging out with all of us, but hey, we're there. Follow us at the SSW Network on all the major social media platforms. You can find us on YouTube and TikTok. While it's still legal, we're over 14. We should be okay in Florida.
That's right.
We're on Twitter, X, whatever. You can find us at the SSW Network. The easiest way to keep up with us, though, is head on over to the sswnetwork.com so you can find all of our information. You can find links to our merch. You can also find links to become a patron. You'll get some free swag. You'll also get a larger discount if you make a merch perch. I just made that up. That's going to be a new thing. Merch perch. I'm like Jack Black. I can pull the words together.
Let's go. I don't know how I feel about merch perch.
But I don't either. I'm not sure. Yeah. But you can also, if you do want to purchase some merch and you're not a patron, that's okay. We still love you, but you can get 15% off your order if you use the code SHILL15. But head on over to the sswnetwork.com where you can find links to all this good stuff.
That's right. And speaking of being connected, whether you're wearing the t-shirt or not, you can always call us on our voicemail line. You see it right there at the bottom of the screen, 504-321-1501. If you call that number, leave us your thoughts about episodes of The Bad Batch. Acolyte's coming out in June, as we are all aware. Call us. Tell us what you think. You could be driving down the road on your way home from work on a Tuesday afternoon and have the craziest Star Wars thought you've ever heard. Or you could be Matt Harrington and you could be just stalking people in the grocery store, asking them about Star Wars. Whatever you do, call us, tell us, 504-321-1501. And leave us that message, and we will play some of those at the end of the show in our intercepted transmission segment.
Absolutely. And like we said before, not only do we have a great interview coming up with Clayton and S.T, but we're also going to be playing some Return of the Jedi trivia with them joining us. Anybody who's watching, we will be able to get you involved in our game. It's going to be very easy. All you need is a phone and the ability to answer multiple choice questions. And, you don't even have to be that knowledgeable. Sometimes the best guess is the right guess. But we are going to be getting to this very busy show in just a few minutes, but we'll be right back with more ATG Live. Well, welcome back to ATG Live, your Thursday night home for all things Star Wars. If you're hanging out with us for the first time, welcome aboard. So glad you could join us. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, and that way you'll also want to hit that bell so you're reminded, because we do this every Thursday night, and we have a huge slate of phenomenal guests coming up tonight. We have Clayton and S.T, and then next week we have their co-author, talking about another book that she's involved in. Kelly Knox is going to join us next week, and the list goes on and on. Yes, we're going to do dad jokes next week, but this week we're also going to be doing some trivia. So hang out with us as soon as we would normally put our intercepted transmissions. We're still going to do that later tonight, but we're going to extend our conversation with ST and with Clayton to do a little bit of Star Wars trivia. Not just Star Wars trivia, Return of the Jedi trivia specifically.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, why don't we get to the news?
Well, Hasbro is canonizing the EU. Hasbro and Lucasfilm concluded their month-long product reveal centered on Star Wars villains called Imperial March. See what they did there? With the unveiling of several new figures. Stealing the spotlight this week is a 4-pack inspired by Timothy Zahn's Last Command novel, one of my personal favorites from my years growing up as a middle school kid, notably featuring the infamous Luke Skywalker clone, Luke, depending on how you pronounce that. This premium 6-inch Star Wars The Black Series Last Command 4-pack is inspired by the characters' appearances in Star Wars The Last Command comic books and novel, depicting the confrontation between Luke Skywalker, Mara Jade, Joris Sabaoth. We've had a little bit of back and forth this week on how we pronounce that last name. I'm going with Sabaoth or Sabaoth. I don't know. And there's also another pack that has Darth Vader, General Grievous, and Admiral Thrawn. 2 separate packs, but this pack with Last Command includes 2 different versions of Luke, Mara Jade, and Joris Sabaoth. They are available for pre-order exclusively at Hasbro Pulse starting March 27th, which was yesterday. The set includes all 4 fully articulated figures, premium detail, multiple points of articulation, and comes with a bunch of inspired accessories, lightsabers, alternate heads, and figures. This is slated with a $99.99 price and a potential summer release date. So here's the thing with this one.
Yeah.
It's fun. I love, the original Thrawn trilogy. It was a key part of my Star Wars growing up life. I'm afraid, though, that this only goes one of a few ways. I'm afraid that it's going to cause a bunch of, the Disney, not my Star Wars people to start a whole new complaint campaign where they're going to say, but this is how it was supposed to be. We know that whatever, this is going to reignite some other thing. Or it's going to every next upcoming Star Wars character might be Mara Jade, which is great. If we ever get a Mara Jade, more power to us. But, we've been stringing that along for a long time. And again, I was born in the 70s. I grew up through all of this. This is a part of the Star Wars that formed who I am. But at some point, we just let things go and we go, you know what? It's just fun. It's whatever. So most likely it's going to be something that, fans pre-order and they may not get for a year or so. It's like we're back in 1977 and we're pre-ordering the Christmas figures in the series and whatever.
Here's your card. Yep.
I think my biggest gripe right now, and again, I don't buy Star Wars toys very often. We're kind of stuck in this in between. There's actual toys for little kids, Young Jedi Adventures, Galaxy Adventures, that kind of stuff. Or it's stuff that are for collectors, Black Series, which is, $25 and up for an action figure. And I'm not sure where we lost the middle ground of, toys, like Star Wars toys. You and I grew up with these toys and we beat the crap out of them and froze them and buried them in our backyards. But there's a market or they wouldn't keep doing it. So I'm not that market. I'm not mad at it. It's just an interesting, we keep cranking these things out.
Well, I think if you look, it took a year to get our first Grogu toy, right?
Yes.
And this has taken, I'm not very good at math, but I'm going to say about 30 years to get our first Luke Skywalker clone and Joris Sabaoth or maybe here's what they can add as a feature for that figure that I would love is a little button you press and it tells you how to say it. Let's settle it because I've been listening.
Eliminate the confusion.
Exactly. No, I agree with you. I think it's cool, but it is interesting because the Black Series figures are a premium and they look great. That's the thing. Like it's hard to argue because they look great and the things that they choose are really cool. Like I was really impressed with the Grievous, which I just finally saw the other day. I almost plunked, but that's like $36. I almost plunked it down to get it.
The tricky one on that one that tripped people up was that 3-pack is Vader, Grievous, and Thrawn. And Thrawn appears to have the Salamiri around his neck, which was also a key feature of the EU books, and we haven't seen that at this point in his appearances in the Ahsoka show. So somebody's, of course, conspiracy theorizing already about what does that mean? Is that something
all coming together? Yes,
so, just as we planned.
Just as we planned. All right, well, let's hit our next story, and before we get to that, just letting you know we are going to be having Clayton Sandell, S.T. Bende with us, and then Star Wars Trivia Night, Return of the Jedi. You can win stuff. Wait, I have stuff here. Speaking of Black Series figures, you can win a Chewbacca right here. That's one of the many things you can win tonight. But let's let me hit this story. Otherwise, I'll just be so excited to be talking about things. Let's see here. Here we go. Yeah. So last week we brought you the news that the new Disney Plus Star Wars show, The Acolyte, dropped its first trailer and poster, and since then there has been a steady stream of controversy online about the diversity of the cast. The trailer, which shows just over 100 seconds of footage from the 8-episode series, features Korean actor Lee Jung-jae, queer actors Amanda Stenberg, Charlie Barnett, and Rebecca Henderson. The lack of white males featured in the trailer has led to an outpouring by far-right conservatives and YouTube personalities to claim that Disney is pushing a leftist agenda and going to an opposite extreme to ensure that diversity is front and center instead of a good story. Very little is actually known about the show at this point, other than it takes place 100 years before The Phantom Menace, and will be dropping on Disney Plus in just over 2 months with a 2-part episode on June 4th. The remarkable thing to me about this entire alleged controversy, and Nick, I have feelings about this sort of thing, is I honestly didn't even notice it until it was brought up by people online. And I know I'm not making that up. I literally did not notice. I was so excited by lightsabers and intrigue and martial arts and the look of it and a freaking Wookiee. I was so excited. I didn't even notice it. So I'm not even going to go into the Star Wars is for everyone mantra, right? I'm just going to go into it and say Star Wars is a fictional galaxy that includes space and fantastic technology with apparent limitations, sentient robots, an infinite number of aliens, and apparently kaiju-sized monsters on every single planet. Thank you, Bad Batch. So if all you noticed in that trailer about a completely fictional world is that you didn't see enough white guys, you have outed yourself as the bigot, and you are politicizing a fairy tale. Your mind has been poisoned by these political agendas, this propaganda. And if you've only watched 100 seconds of the series and you've made your decisions about it because of what you saw, because you saw an Asian man, a black woman, and queer people in it that outnumbered the white men you're used to seeing in your Star Wars, then you're a racist, period. Plain and simple. End of my rant. Don't watch it. Don't talk about it. Go away. That's where I stand on this, Nick. And I've said a lot about it lately, but that's about as far as I think I want to go with that. But do you have any thoughts on it? Any comments?
Well, I do, and I think there is a fine line here, and I'm in full agreement with you. You know that as someone who has literally spent 35 years of their life living in the Deep South,
right.
And if living in the Deep South wasn't enough, I grew up in Selma, Alabama, and I live in Montgomery, Alabama.
Yep.
There's a little bit of connection to things like, racial history and that kind of thing. So there is a fine line when you say something like, I didn't notice. It's the same thing as saying, like, I don't see color. Like, we don't say we don't see color because we do recognize that we are all different and unique and individual.
Sure.
But the reality is, if that's the only thing you can focus on, I agree with you. What I looked at and saw was, this looks like an awesome story. This looks like characters I want to get to know. This looks like something that doesn't look like my everyday life, which is full of a bunch of people who may or may not look just like me. It looks like Star Wars. That was the only thought I had, is it looks like Star Wars. And you're right. It's okay to be excited about it. But the reality is, if this is the one thing you're focused on, you're 100% right. It's Taylor Swift. It's you. Hi, you're the problem. It's you.
Right.
That's where we have landed on this whole thing. So,
and I mean, there's not even an argument to it. You can't even argue it anymore.
Yeah, there's nothing to argue.
That's the thing. There were some people that tried to say, "Oh, it's breaking canon." We don't even know.
No, we don't know the canon because we don't know what the story is.
Right. So let's kick back and enjoy in June a brand. Like I said before, I am so excited about this because just like Force Awakens, all I know is that I know nothing about it, and I can't wait to see it. And there's a bunch of people who are pissed off because there's a black person in it, and that's where we are. But I couldn't be more excited. And June 4th can't get here fast enough.
Yeah, I'm ready for it as well.
Awesome.
As we move on to our next story, Asajj Ventress is back. The hardcore Star Wars fan community was abuzz this week as beloved character Asajj Ventress made her return to the screen. We know not everyone is familiar with that character, myself included, so we asked our good friend and Asajj Ventress correspondent, Katrina Dennis, to give us a quick primer on this lightsaber-wielding former Sith apprentice.
Hello, viewers. This is Okatrina here to recap the history, the legacy, and the majesty of Asajj Ventress. Asajj Ventress first debuted on November 14th, 2003 as part of Genndy Tartakovsky's Clone Wars 2D series. Based on a design created for Attack of the Clones, Asajj Ventress was a Sith acolyte working under Count Dooku who was out for blood. Ventress's story continued throughout Dark Horse comics as well as novels, all the way through what we now know as the Expanded Universe until the debut of the 3D animated Clone Wars TV series. Deadly, precise, and strong in the Force, Ventress was known to wield 2 lightsabers when we first saw her, making her a worthy adversary for big names like Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luminara Unduli, and Ahsoka Tano. Born to an unnamed Night Sister on Dathomir, she is traded away to a slaver at a very, very young age and taken to the planet Rat-Attack. But when pirates attack and kill her master, she is taken in by a Jedi known as Kai Narek and becomes a very skilled Padawan. Unfortunately, tragedy strikes again when Ventress is forced to watch her Jedi master die before her and falls quickly to the dark side. She becomes a wonderful pawn for Count Dooku, who takes her in, makes her his Sith acolyte, and trains her in the dark side of the Force. Ventress is subject to countless tortures throughout her training that craft her into a vengeful, bitter, angry Sith acolyte. But eventually, the mysterious Sith Lord Palpatine decides that it is time to do away with Ventress. And against Dooku's wishes, he is forced to abandon her, leaving her to die among the stars. Ventress, of course, is a survivor. After Dooku's abandonment, she returns to her home planet of Dathomir and reunites with Mother Talzin and the Night Sisters. But unfortunately, the Night Sisters are a little too competent for Palpatine's liking. In a tragic battle, Ventress witnesses every single one of her sisters fall to the hands of General Grievous and his droid army. And yet, she persists. Throughout seasons 4 and 5 of the Clone Wars, we see Ventress turn into somebody completely new, striking out on her own as a bounty hunter and defining her path within the Force in new ways. Along with assisting Boba Fett in Season 4, Episode 20, Bounty of the Clone Wars, Ventress also returns in The Wrong Jedi to assist Ahsoka Tano in her escape from the Jedi Order. Ventress's change of heart is shown throughout numerous stories, including the Age of Republic comic where she saves 2 young girls from a man who wants to steal their food. So she slashes his arm off. Including the Jedi Master Quinlan Vos, who is ultimately sent to team up with her in the novel Dark Disciple so the 2 of them can take down her former master, Count Dooku. In the novel, Ventress ultimately sacrifices her life to save Quinlan Vos and return him to the light side of the Force. And for almost a decade, that was the last we'd seen of Asajj Ventress. But as of this week in the Bad Batch, she is back, baby. And that definitive path that she has chosen is on broad display for all of us. To learn more about Ventress, I would recommend you read Dark Disciple, Star Wars Brotherhood, the Age of Republic comics, Hyperspace Stories, and the Vader's Castle comics as well. And if you're looking for something a little less canon, I have 2 fanfics, one called Ventress Golden and another called Howl of the Banshee, that fill in more context to her Vendemption era. This character is so complicated, so interesting, and so wonderful. She is something so unique in the Star Wars universe, and she's redefining the Force for herself without the Jedi or the Sith. Welcome back, Ventress. We missed you, babe.
I am so happy that Katrina was able to cut that video for us. First of all, when I heard that Ventress was coming back, when we saw the trailer, my first thought was, somebody's got to check on Katrina, make sure she's okay. And then this week I had to, I figured what better way than to have her tell us about, because like you, I knew enough about her. I watched stuff, but I didn't read all the books and I didn't know the full backstory. And so it was great to get that perspective. Before I forget, Katrina is also the co-host of Padro Pascal, which they talk about Pedro Pascal, as well as What's Glup, a Glup Shido podcast. She's also been a part of Podathon in the past. She loves all the strange and interesting characters, very similar to our conversation last week with Tommy Stella. And she wrote 2 fan fictions, which you got to check out. I put the link in the chat for people to check out. But Nick, I have to. It wouldn't just be. It wouldn't be a normal situation if I didn't theorize in probably somewhat inappropriately. But here's my theory. Here's what I got, and especially after hearing what Katrina had told us and taught us about our friend Asajj Ventress. Here's my theory. Because we had heard somewhere, there were rumblings that her story is not over, whether that means within this series or not. I'm going to say young Omega finishes this story leaving with Asajj Ventress to work on her force skills and become a maybe non-Jedi force user.
So you're giving us Grogu leaving Mando part 2 is what you're trying to tell me.
Yes.
Just another moment of somebody leaving. Maybe there's a reunion, but there's only a little bit of time left. So we don't know.
I don't think she comes back. I think she leaves in the last episode. I think the Bad Batch, whoever survives, realizes they can't do what they need to for her. And there she goes.
So if that happens, do we ever see Omega again down the road?
Oh yeah.
Rey movie.
Maybe in the Rey movie, but I think we'll get an Asajj series. I think we'll get something like that. The further adventures of Asajj and Omega. That would be kind of cool.
Hey, I'm here for it.
I don't know, but that's my kind of crazy theory. But we have a lot of stuff left to get to tonight. So if you're joining us for the first time, thank you so much. Thanks for hanging out. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Become a part of our friends and family here. We are going to take a short break. And when we come back, we are going to be talking to Clayton Sandell and S.T. Bende about their brand new book, which comes out on April 23rd. We'll put the link for that into the chat as well. But we'll be back in just a minute with more Force Connect. No? Well, welcome back to ATGLive, not Force Connect. No, that's what the show used to be called. I saw Chris Ryan is right. It's the Force Connect
you're
section.
Right there in the neighborhood.
I saw Chris Ryan's in the chat, and I just had a flashback and a very positive flashback. But we are about to talk to 2 authors. One has been on the show multiple times. The other we're meeting for the first time, but I realized in reading her bio that I've been reading her work to my kids for years. So why don't we get to our interview with our Force Connect section? Look at those folks. Clayton, ST, how are you doing?
Hi. Thanks for having us.
Hey guys, how's it going? I love the fact that you have an Asajj Ventress correspondent. And the best person for that.
If we've learned anything from you, it's that we need people that are experts that can go out, can do the hard work, tell the good stories.
That's awesome. Yeah. Good to see you.
Good to see you. It's I think the last time I actually saw you was probably at Celebration not too long ago. 2 years ago now. Jeez Louise, it's going way too fast. I can't believe I said jeez Louise. See, that's the problem. I'm getting a little bit too old on that stuff. But yeah, Clayton, ST, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself for those who may not have met you before?
Clayton?
She's more famous than I am, so
No. So I write a lot of kids and some young adult and some entertainment type stuff for Star Wars, Disney, Marvel, Pixar, and the Jim Henson Company, all of the Disneys. I love Star Wars. I'm a huge fan. I have slept in the floor in convention center basements. There is no greater love than that. And I'm just really excited to get to work with Clayton because I've really admired his work for a long time. And of course, just seeing how he is as a collaborator was a really cool experience for me. So this was a real treat.
Awesome.
Totally mutual. Yeah. And I, working for Scripps News now, but for years as sort of, I call it my side hustle, try to report on fun and interesting behind the scenes Star Wars kind of stuff, and worked on Timelines, which was out last year, and this one, which is coming out soon, and very, very excited about all of it. So.
Yeah, this isn't like just a book. This is, I have to say, okay, so yeah, before we dig into it, this is 300 pages. I did my shorts / TikTok video and literally dropped it on the table, and it was loud. I have been collecting Star Wars books, as you have, Clayton, for years, and I'm sure you too, ST. But like way back to like when the only thing you could get because you didn't have it on video was books. And I'm not saying this because you're on screen. This book is so worthy of being among the top of those books. This thing, top to bottom, is fantastic. It's got just the picture. I mean, I'm not going to do it justice here, but it's got pictures. It's got like sections within sections. It's so well put together. It's built so well. And we also can't forget to mention that Kelly Knox was one of your co-authors on this. Kelly, the only reason she's not with you tonight is because she's going to be here next week because she's busy putting out other books like her Dad Jokes book. But that's it's just an amazing book. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Well, and I want to dig into that because, like you said, it is a 300-page book, and it boggles the mind. And I've had books like this. We've had, it's got the fold-outs, it's got all the, kind of additional. Where do you begin with a project like this? Like, how do you get started and not just sit down in the middle of the room and go, there's too much? Like, tell us about kind of the process of it, because I love a good behind the scenes, and this is certainly something that there's a lot of meat on those bones. Where do you start with this?
Well, we were really lucky. We had some amazing editors that we got to work with that had created these drives, I guess, like compendium drives of here are a lot of materials that you can use to research from. So I think most of us just kind of combed through very slowly, combed through the drives and pulled out what we could. I'm old school. I just do it on a Word doc and kind of plugged in by section what we would need to know, and then essentially tried to pull out the most interesting facts from those sections. Was it similar for you, Clayton?
Yeah, and I think you make a good point about the editors who were very smart about, dividing things up. So we each had kind of our own section that we were responsible for, which what's cool about that is that going through this, when I got my copy, there were sections I hadn't read other people's sections. So there were things in here that I didn't know that I learned once I finally got my hands on it, which was great. And it's sort of it's kind of like, it's a visual archive, and it's like, well, what does that mean? Are we talking about the movie? Are we talking about behind the scenes? And the fact is, it's like this, and again, credit to the editors, it's this brilliantly put together hybrid of both, because we'll talk about the story, so you'll understand what's going on in the movie, and then in that same section we just kind of dive into all the behind the scenes aspects of it, and then sort of the overall thing, which I think makes it a little bit different from what has come before, is it kind of takes Return of the Jedi and shows you how that film continues to influence Star Wars to this day. And there's a million examples we can talk about, but that's one of the things I really love about it.
Yeah, I think that was another great thing about what I saw with this book was just the you talk about the merch, you talk about the connections to the Ewok shows, you talk about the blurgs showing up in Mandalorian and all those sort of conversations. So, what was maybe the most surprising thing that you learned while you were putting this book together? Like one of the facts that you're like, huh, I had no idea.
I didn't know that the Ewok actors were such pranksters on the set. Maybe this was common knowledge and I just had not quite come across this panel at a celebration yet. But apparently they really, really enjoyed pranking their co-stars and the crew, and they would just disappear and say they weren't coming into work that day and then ambush the person that came looking for them in the woods. Or I guess one day the crew and the cast were all eating lunch, and so they attacked them with water balloons when they weren't looking. Like they just had so much fun, and I think that really comes across on the screen when you see those sequences in particular. Is these people just really all enjoyed working together because they were allowed to make it a fun environment.
That's cool. Yeah, we actually had Nick, I can't remember his name. Kevin Thompson, right? He was one of the Ewoks. Yeah. He was on the show, and he told us his story about he didn't know for sure that he was working on Star Wars until he went up the elevator at Pinewood Studios, I guess it was, and he walked out and he saw Billy Dee, he saw Carrie Fisher, he saw Luke Skywalker, and he said, "Oh, we're making Star Wars." So, but he also told us about how they wrestled and they just had so much fun together. That's a great call. I love that. What about you, Clayton? What shocked you, or what did you learn?
I think it was just all the connections that you don't really often think about. And one example that sort of stood out to me is take Mon Mothma, and I'm going to ask you guys how long do you think Mon Mothma's monologue was in Return of the Jedi?
Like as far as like the number of lines or minutes or
minutes? Yeah. Okay. How many minutes?
It feels like it's like 3 or 4 minutes, right? Maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say it's 3. It feels like 3 minutes of screen.
3 minutes. Yeah. She speaks for 38 seconds, and then she appears in a few more scenes.
Right.
But then that's it. Mm-hmm. And yet that character, and this is the contribution that Return of the Jedi makes, is that she goes on to appear in animated series,
right?
Rogue One. She's one of the chief characters of Andor, and I think that's one of the really neat, enduring contributions that Jedi makes to the canon is characters like Mon Mothma. And the other character connection, which I thought was a lot of fun, is just the skiff guards in the Sarlacc scene. They're just sort of background bad guys that end up getting thrown into the Sarlacc pit. And now the Weequays and the Niktos and all the others are like named common characters throughout all kinds of Star Wars stories. So I think it was just the connections that are made, from one to the really minor things in Jedi end up being these, important, enduring elements years and years later to this day.
Yeah, I haven't thought of it that way, but it's really interesting because I've always said that The Empire Strikes Back was the most important Star Wars movie because it started to build the lore, right, of the Force and all these other things. But I hadn't thought about what you just said, but you're right. These background characters, because I guess there were more. I mean, you had the cantina in A New Hope, but that was kind of, quick. But all these background characters that ended up having a big impact far beyond and far before Return of the Jedi. That's a really great observation. That is really very interesting. So
it's there, and there's so much of it, and you see the little bits of it, like you talked about, all the little bits, whether it's the blurgs, whether it's, getting to see vehicles again farther down the line, like all those little things that feed into animation, that feed into these furthering of stories. My question for you guys next is, I'm not a huge rank Star Wars guy, but I know we all, have movies that we watch where we connect. So this is kind of a two-parter. One, where was Return of the Jedi initially for you kind of in the overall Skywalker saga? And did working on this book and doing this kind of change the way you look at this movie in particular?
Well, Empire is my favorite. It's it's my favorite. It's still my favorite. I got to visit Hoth once upon a time, and it was even more my favorite. And I think for me, every time I work on a project, I feel closer to that film. So coming in, I would have said my number was 5, 4, and 6 tied, and then others, right? I would bring 6 slightly above now because I have had that connection with it. I've worked on 4 projects, but this was really in depth and this was really fun. So it brings it a little higher in that ranking just because I know more, I understand more. I've always loved the Ewoks, so it was always going to be up there anyway. But just learning that lore and those things that we didn't know before really, I think, helps me understand and appreciate it even more.
Yeah, I don't think anything will ever top Empire for me, but it's true. When you start digging into all of this stuff for Jedi, it's hard not to have a deeper appreciation and affinity for it, because you really do see, how it influenced things that came later. There was also I was thinking about the connection to even the prequels. The planet Coruscant was basically completely designed by Ralph McQuarrie for Jedi, and then that planet got cut from the script, so they had all this stuff left over. So when Doug Chiang and team went to design Coruscant for the Phantom Menace, he says, I didn't really have to do much work. McQuarrie already did it. So, yeah, I don't know. I would probably rank it a very close second to Empire at this point.
And I think that's an interesting. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, this project coming kind of on the heels of Light and Magic is so interesting for us too, because we got to see so many of the things that we were reading about, like playing out in the filmography of what they were showing during those scenes from Light and Magic, seeing Lauren Peterson and Dennis Muren and all of these speeder bike sequences and the animatics. Like, it was just really neat to do the research and then get this visual of, oh, I understand this is what they were doing, and realizing how just truly pioneering all of that was for the time. It was fun to kind of have that crossover between the series and the research.
That makes all the sense in the world. And I think there's a unique thing with Jedi, and I think this book is going to do a lot, not only for fans. I mean, we're all of the same age, I think, and we all, kind of rank Empire as number one, and, kind of follow that original OT path and then into the other stuff, which we also love. But I think there's something in the fact that Star Wars came out of left field in 1977. Nobody was prepared for how big it was going to be, the phenomenon that was going to be. Then Empire came, and our minds were blown, and it was this new thing. But by the time we got to Jedi, it was more familiar, and so it had to work a little bit harder to be something special and keep it going. And I think it did. But I think we look at, especially fans of our age and our generation, we look at Jedi a little bit differently. And I think the more we revisit it as older fans, we look at it and go, gosh, that really is great. And more so than we thought. And I think a book like this revisits that idea and shows us more of the, oh yeah, that moment. And oh yeah, this, I remember, the animatics of the speeder bike scene that showed up in all those behind the scene videos that we got on VHS, in the late 80s and that kind of stuff. Like, all of that comes flooding back. And when you see a book like this that just reminds you of that, I think that's a neat connection that also has the ability to reel in these younger fans who also love Return of the Jedi, but for different reasons than maybe the four of us do.
Yeah. And I also think about Doug Chiang talks, and I can't remember where this one was. I think it was pretty recent, but he talks about the steepness of ramps, right? In all of these, have we talked about this before? There's this steepness of ramps, and how steep does it have to be for the shuttle to get down and the people to get down it? And Jedi in particular had a steepness of ramp moment that really brought that full circle to me. I guess when they were doing reshoots for the landing platform on Endor, David Prowse wasn't available. So one of the ILM gentlemen had to step into the costume, and it was Craig Barron, I think. And he wasn't as tall as David Prowse, which meant that the cape was a lot longer and the costume didn't fit as well. And Vader's helmet wasn't quite what it needed to be. And I think visibility is just difficult anyway. So he's going down a ramp which was probably steep to begin with, but in order to make it work for these reshoots, it was even steeper than the one they'd originally built. And he said he just bit it. And now I will forever be looking and thinking of Doug's, talk on ramps. And like, even in the Bad Batch, when we're watching that, it's like, oh, is that ramp? Could Hunter really walk down that? Oh, those are little stairs. I see them now. Like little things that make it funny.
It's very true. And it's those are the kinds of things that we don't appreciate, I think, as well. I think Star Wars fans appreciate it more, but I think we often forget about it. It's just all the things that went on behind the scenes. And honestly, it's a miracle that Star Wars looks and is as good as it is and was. And it's just, I remember the quote from Ralph McQuarrie when he told George, he said, these look great in paintings, but they're not going to look good on screen. And miraculously, it all worked, and it all became this sort of amazing universe that we all love. Clayton, I know that you are a big fan of these kinds of books, and it's funny. Clinton Yates was a guest on Around the Galaxy from ESPN. And I asked, as we do in every Around the Galaxy, we ask in our 10 questions, what is your favorite Star Wars movie, TV show, or book? And his favorite book is one of yours, and I think you were the only other one to say it, was the Empire Strikes Back Blueprints book.
Oh, yeah.
And so this book, was this sort of, Timelines was an amazing, and still is, it's something I grab all the time. But is this sort of like the dream Star Wars project for you?
Yeah, because I think we've talked before that when Jedi left theaters, we all kind of thought Star Wars was done. And I personally sort of turned to all of the behind the scenes stuff and learning, the first ILM book by Thomas Smith was like, I remember getting that for Christmas one year, and I still have it in the other room and look at it occasionally. And I have a prop. Can I get a prop really quick?
Yes, please, absolutely.
Okay, hold on. All right.
Anything from that back wall would be fine. Oh my gosh.
So what was cool about this was, and I wish that I had gotten this before, because I would have put a picture, I would have submitted a picture for the book, but I got to write a little bit about the Death Star in Jedi, and the fact that actually there were supposed to be 2 Death Stars until they cut one out. But talking about the model building and some of the behind the scenes aspects of that, I got to go to unfortunately, sadly, the closing of 3210 Studios in the fall, which was where ILM had been until they kind of sold off the physical effects part and moved to the Presidio. But in that facility, when I was there, they still had, if you can imagine, the Death Star floors. If I can hold this up,
No.
they still had the templates, the brass, sort of an etched brass piece. Oh, this is what the floors, when you see the girders on the Death Star, this is what it was made out of. These tiny little strips of brass, and so I had, so getting to write about Death Star 2 and getting to see how this actually looked, these tiny little pieces that somebody designed, and then they used acid to kind of wash it away. But this is what the model makers were working with, tiny little pieces and strips of brass to make that model. And so, diving into stuff like that, for me, like you said, it was a total dream to get into that stuff.
Clayton, please frame that.
I need to put it somewhere safe.
Preserve it for all of us. That's right. Well, ST, I want to ask you a question as well. You have kind of, with this book, certainly you've made a move from, YA and fiction and some younger, the books that you've done into more kind of an archival role. What was the toughest part of that transition? Did it flow naturally because you love Star Wars, or was there, some adjustments that had to be made?
It definitely flowed from Star Wars, but also because I really love doing research. That's always my favorite part of any project. So this took the research part and then cut out the making things up from the research part, right? It was just, okay, we're going to skip the second step. We'll just do the first step. the hard part for me was not using my normal language, which is very heavy on alliteration. I love it. I am a big fan of puns. I have learned how to stop having so many stabby type words as we don't say these things, right? So you'll get the notes, oh, we're still owned by Disney. It's not so much stabbing. It's very different writing for like original stories for Insider or a kid's book. Like there's a difference there, but here it was a much drier kind of style. So there was definitely less alliteration. There weren't as many puns. I think we were able to put in a couple little zinger lines here and there, but it was a more serious book. So I was more serious.
Yes, of course,
Yeah, it's funny because as Nick said, and I referenced at the top, until I read your bio, the 5-minute Star Wars stories, which you were a part of, I used to read those to my son every night, and so I was reading your stuff even before this, and so that's really wild. But the book comes out on April 23rd. It is honestly, I don't say this lightly. It is really, it falls into an immediate favorite of mine personally, and again, Return of the Jedi has always been my number 3 movie, but I read this and I had to go watch the movie. I gotta ask you real quick, have you watched the movie since you finished the book?
I've watched pieces of it.
I'm sure it's been on. I sat down and watched it again. Yeah. We watch things a lot when we're doing the books, a lot. So sometimes we take little breaks unless we have a project right away that's the same. I don't think I've seen it in its entirety since. So.
Well, I can neither confirm nor deny that I watched it at work today while I was getting ready to hang out with you guys tonight. Sure. But there's a rumor floating around.
That's great. Well, we're going to take a break, and if you guys will hang out, we want to give away some Star Wars toys, Return of the Jedi toys specifically, with a little bit of a trivia game. And if you guys have anything you can add to the trivia questions as they come out, we'd love to hear them from the book. I have put the link in the chat. You can pre-order your book right now on Amazon or wherever you get books, but there's a link right now if you want to go get that book today. So it lands in your front porch on the 23rd of April. You're not going to want to miss a single day with it. But if you guys will hang out, we'll be back in 1 minute with some Star Wars Return of the Jedi trivia after this break. And we are back. We're talking Return of the Jedi. We're talking with Return of the Jedi Visual Archive, coming out April 23rd by this gentleman and this woman and another woman named Kelly Knox, who will be on the show with us next week. But you can get your copy ordered today. Listen, guys, I just put into the chat the link to become a part of tonight's trivia. We've never done this before here on the show, but we figured Return of the Jedi, it's the 40th anniversary. It's the 41st anniversary now, right? 25th of Phantom Menace. But let's focus on Return of the Jedi. We have some questions, and the winners of this trivia contest will have their choice of either a Boushh 40th anniversary Leia pop, or a Chewbacca Black Series Return of the Jedi. And Nick, you have something.
Or I do as well. And this is not, from the Alabama division. This is not necessarily Return of the Jedi, but this is the Celebration 2023 R2 and R5 D4 combo pack Funko Pop. So somebody will also win that. We'll give some,
which I think for collectors, that's probably worth more than these other two pieces themselves. So the way it works is I'm going to put up a screen where you can scan and join from your phone, or you'll be able to answer with the crowd.live with the code CSRCQ. We're going to hope that this works, but Lloyd, hit us with a bumper and we'll get all set up here. We can't do anything with that music. We have to move. We have to dance. We have to have some fun. So we're going to give everybody just a second to log in and join us here on the program. You can you can log in and try to win something here. Hopefully, people will start logging in here any minute now. Let me take a look at the chat and see how this is going. Anybody logged in? Anybody having any issues, questions, concerns? Let us know down there in the chat. This is the first time for us. We've tried to do trivia before and it just hasn't worked out just right. So, but why don't we do this? Why don't we give you all 30 seconds to get in, and then we'll give the first question. It's not going to count toward the winning or not, but let's just see if this works for people. So, let's start with a 30-second countdown. Give you some time to log in, scan the QR code. Join us and let's see what happens here. So the first question, the way it works is you're going to see a question, then you're going to see multiple choice, and you're going to have to buzz in as quickly as you can, and you get points for answering correctly only, and you get more points for the quicker you buzz in. So, and hey, we have prizes on the line for this. All right, so the first question,
log in.
You can log. Go ahead. Hey, if you get them, you have to get them all right, though. That's the problem. All right, here's the first question. What day is the Return of the Jedi Visual Archives by S.T. Bende and Clayton Sandell and Kelly Knox hitting shelves? Let's see if people are logging in and answering questions. Let's see. So far, I think we only have 3 players, but you know what? That means somebody is going to win. All right. So, of course, the correct answer is April 23rd. And let's see how we did and who we have here. We have Camray. We have somebody who went with the name of the code as their name.
The code.
And JD Sleesman is there. So you can still join. You can still scan that code. Let me give you guys 30 more seconds to scan and join before we get to the next question. So nobody got that right. I guess I didn't say it enough. Clayton, I got to work on that. My news hosting. I have to. April 23rd is the date of the book. April 23rd, 2024. Let's see when people thought
you can pre-order now, which is the
correct. And we've even put a link in the chat so you can order it right away. Let's see. What did people say? Let's see. They said.
I'm guessing people said May the 4th.
Yeah, actually, I don't. It's not coming up. Oh, well. All right. Well, hey, we are going to go with these 3 players. And we got, if CSRQ wants to tell us who they are in the chat, just so I know who they are, so I can mock them and then see how they do. All right. Since we've only got 3, I think we're just going to have a first place winner and maybe a second place winner. We'll talk about it at the end. All right. Here comes the first real question. This one counts. Here we go. What was the month, day, and year that Return of the Jedi was released in the U.S.? What was it? Was it May 4th, 1982, December 19th, 1983, May 25th, 1983, or May 4th, 1983? Let's see. How did we do here? Okay, we got 3 out of 3 got it right. All right, so everybody here is at least 30 years old, I'm guessing. I'm feeling like our 25-year-old friends wouldn't know that, but hey, are you good, ST and Clayton? Are you guys a fan of bringing Star Wars back out in May, or are you a December kind of Star Wars person now? I've really enjoyed the Star Wars in December, but
I liked them in December because then we got them over Christmas, and then when we had more free time, we could go see it repeatedly.
Yeah.
May feel more honoring, but December is more convenient.
Yeah.
I'm with ST. I like them in December.
Yeah, I kind of do too. All right, CSR.
It begs also the Orthodox Star Wars Day question. Of course, we've co-opted May the 4th as Star Wars Day, but if you claim to be Orthodox, it might be May 25th is your Star Wars Day. So it just depends.
I celebrate every day from May 4th through the 25th. It's
all of them. Every day is really Star Wars Day.
That's kind of true.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get to that next question and see how we do. Wait. Oh, yes, here we go. Ready? We just did that one. Here we go. What was the song that Cy Snoodle sang in the Jabba the Hutt Palace in the special edition of Return of the Jedi? Was it Greedo's Blues? Was it Lapti Nek? Was it Jabba Nobada? or was it Jedi Rocks in the special edition? All right. Well, we all know that the special edition version was, Clayton. Do you know what it was, Clayton?
The special edition version?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do know what that one was. Yeah.
Yes.
Of
course, it was Jedi Rocks. Yeah. Let's see how our leaderboard changed. Did it change? Yes, they all got it right. CSRQ is still whatever. I gotta know who that is. You got to put it in the chat.
Was that the Jabba popcorn bucket that just released?
Oh no, is there? Oh, no, that was.
Yeah. It just came out. It's really cool.
Yeah.
You open his mouth and there's popcorn inside.
Oh man, see, I haven't been a big fan of the whole popcorn.
Yeah, but you would want this one.
Yeah,
I would not have stood in line for 5 hours for Figment, but this is like
we're gonna have to
stand in that line.
We're gonna have to hit up Brian and Holly Fry to send everybody hot popcorn buckets when they go.
Yeah, there you go. By the way, do you know who wrote the lyrics for Lapty Neck?
I want to say, was it John Williams' son?
Yes. And who was the lead singer?
Oh, now see, I did not know that.
Lead singer of Toto.
Really?
Yes, come on. Yeah.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
He wrote the lyrics.
That's amazing. I didn't know that John Williams' son was the lead singer of Toto. Wow.
Yeah. And yeah, so my I wish they would bring the Ewok song at the end. Why am I blanking on it?
I want the original too.
The original. Yeah.
Yub-Nub versus what it was. Yeah, I'm with you. I get it, and I like the sweetness of the song, and it's nice, but we need the Yub-Nub. We need Yub-Nub. All right, let's get to the next question. Let's see what we got here. Here we go. Who played, speaking of Ewoks, the first Ewok that we meet in Return of the Jedi? Who was the actor? Was it Eric Walker? Was it Warwick Lucas? Was it Warwick Davis? Was it Jet Lucas? Who was that actor? I think we all know that one. Of course, it was Warwick Davis, who is also a Star Wars celebrity at every celebration. He's always there. And let's see how we're doing on the leaderboard. Cam Ray made the move. Cam Ray was ready to go, and CRSQ fell off a little bit. And Jasmine figured it out, and she's now part of the thing. She can look. She can still catch up. I think she's got
She
time.
can make a run. What did ST find?
So I don't know if you guys. I mean, I know Clayton knows, but I don't know if you guys know. Warwick Davis actually wrote George Lucas and asked very politely for toys after he was in his film. And we have a copy of that letter in the book, which I did not know until I got my book that we were getting this letter. And he has the neatest printing and the neatest little, hold on, I'm terrible at cameras. He signs his name Warwick, and it's just the cutest little polite. Can we read it to you guys? Is that okay?
Yes, please. Yes.
It says, "Dear Mr. Lucas, my name is Warwick. I hope you remember me. I helped you make the new Star Wars film last year. I hear that the film is being released in this country on June 2nd, and that a few of the toy shops in London have some of the new figures. I hope this is not too rude of me to ask you, but would it be possible for you to send me the very latest figures and walkers? I was hoping very much that there might be an Ewok, or these are all in quotes, Ewok or Jabba the Hutt. I did enjoy myself with you and the members of the film unit, and keep remembering what a terrific experience it was. Hoping to meet you again soon. Kindest regards, Warwick." So that one's cute.
That's great. That's the best. I love that.
I hope you remember me.
I hope you. And I mean, how many pictures are there of George with Warwick on the set, right? I mean, how could he forget him? Oh man, that's great.
And I think, am I right? Warwick, Anthony Daniels, and Ian McDiarmid are the only three that were in all three trilogies, right?
I think you're probably right. Yeah,
I could be wrong. I may be.
What?
Well, yeah.
Was Peter Mayhew?
He goes from writing a letter, "Do you remember me?" to appearing in like
everything,
right?
And hosting everything, being our favorite. I remember seeing him and Carrie Fisher reenacting it at some event from a couch with a Coke can. I think it was really cute.
That's all funny. All right, let's see what the next question has in store, and let's see if Jasmine can make that move. Here we go. What piece of piloting advice did Han give Chewie while their clearance code was being checked by the Imperial blockade on Endor? Did he say take it easy? Did he say fly casual? Did he say fly faster? Did he say I got a bad feeling about this? Let's see. All right. The correct answer is, of course,
Such a great line.
fly casual. But
I don't know. Fly casual. But don't look like you're flying casual.
Exactly. Oh, somebody got it wrong. Let's see how the leaderboard did. Here we go. Camray keeps moving up, and CSRCQ is missed it. Oh my goodness. It's because they can't get the name right. All right, here we go. Let's get to that next question. When Luke faces the Emperor in the throne room, he tells him, your overconfidence is your weakness. What does the Emperor say in response? Does he say, so be it, Jedi? Does he say, you are unwise to lower your defenses? Does he say, your faith in the rebellion is yours? Does he say, your faith in your friends is yours? Let's see. The correct answer, of course, is your faith in your friends is yours. And the leaderboard looks like this. Camray is trying to run away with it. JD is trying to catch up. We're getting close here. It's getting good. CSRQ is dropped off. Jasmine is maybe got disconnected. Oh, time ran out, she said. I'm sorry. Here we go. You can read ahead of me. You don't have to wait for me. Here's the next question. In Return of the Jedi, who says the name Palpatine when referring to the Emperor? Is it Vader? Is it Leia? Is it Luke? Or is it no one? Who says the name Palpatine? Let's see. Here we go. Of course, the correct answer is no one. Right? The name, much like the Macquarie paintings, Coruscant. The name Palpatine didn't exist yet. Right? Is it? I didn't catch anything in the book on that. But is there something in the book about that? I'm not sure. I didn't read all 300 pages yet. I'm trying to. But
yeah, I don't know if it's in the book or not, but it did show up in the novelization.
Right.
That came out like 2 weeks before the movie came out, I think.
Mm-hmm. Right. Back. Can you imagine if they issued books and comics like months and months ahead of everything? Let's see.
Song titles. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. I will never forget Qui-Gon's Noble End. Anyway, I'm trying to get over it, but I'm getting there.
I haven't looked at a soundtrack listing for a Star Wars movie since.
That's good idea. This is true. This is very true. Well, Cam is still in the lead as we head into our next question. Here we go. What is the first word of the opening crawl, not counting episode 6, Return or of the Jedi? What is the first word in that opening crawl?
War. Wait, that's not it.
Okie doke. Let's see. Of course, the answer, and not of course, this is actually not an easy one. The, it, and there are fairly common. It, and I think there is the number one of all of them. But in this case, the correct answer is Luke. It talks about, was it Luke Skywalker has returned to his home planet of Tatooine to rescue his friends from the vile gangster Jabba the Hutt. Oh my gosh. If I got that right, I need to probably get out a little bit more.
I never would have gotten that one.
And nobody got it right, but that's okay. The leaderboard does not change. Here we go. Let's see. The next question is, which Imperial officer greets Darth Vader when he arrives on Death Star 2? Was it Admiral Piet? Was it Moff Piet? Was it Moff Jerjerrod or Jerjerrod? I want somebody's opinion on how to say that, like Sabaoth or Sabaoth or Lieutenant Jerjerrod. Let's see. The correct answer is he was a Moff. Okay. Is it Jerjerrod, Jerjerrod, how do you guys say Jerjerrod? I don't know. Did you uncover that mystery?
I say Jerjerrod. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But
I am prone when I have to do read alouds to children to literally call the editor and say, hey, Anakin's mom, how do we say this one?
Yep.
Well,
that's funny. Okay, so let's see where we are with the standings. Let's see who got that right.
No answers on that one.
Look at that.
No answers.
Let's see. Let's know the
no correct answers. Pardon me.
Oh, wow.
Look at that. Well, there we go. All right.
You stumped him.
We got 2 questions left, and at this point, it's coming down to Camray and JD. It's very close. 30-point difference. Here we go. Next question. Second to last. Which two characters utter the famous "I have a bad feeling about this" in Return of the Jedi? Two characters say it. Which two characters are they? Han and Luke, Leia and 3PO, 3PO and Han, or Luke and Leia? The correct answer is, anybody want to guess on the screen? No. Okay.
I know what it is, so I'm not going to guess it.
The correct answer is C-3PO and Han Solo. 3PO says it when they walk into Jabba's palace, and Han says it when he's being held for dinner. And let's see, what did we get here? Ooh, Cam got it.
That lead.
JD did not. Oh, man. We're coming down to the very last question. And here we go. Very exciting. Here it is. How many people did it take to control the full-size Jabba the Hutt puppet in Return of the Jedi? Was it 6, 4, 12, or 9? 6, 4, 12, or 9. I remember my dad met the guy who was in his tail and was very excited to tell me about it. And the correct answer is 6 people. There were 6 people in there. Let's see the rankings. And here we go. Your winners are... Okay, we get it. The entry code is 203 points. Second place is JD with 276.
Ooh,
and that means our winner is Cam Ray with 394 points. Cam, DM me. I know you know how to do that. DM me, buddy, and let me know which of these prizes you want. And JD, let us know what you want for second place as well. Give us 2 from you, because if Cam wants the first one, we'll give that to him.
I have a bonus trivia question.
Oh, awesome!
But it's kind of a trick question, so I'm gonna ask it anyway. What was the original title for the film?
Are you talking Revenge of the Sith? Revenge of the Jedi, rather? Not Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Jedi? Or is that correct?
The original title, which you will learn by reading this book.
Out April 23rd.
Return of the Jedi.
So it was originally
Howard Kazanjian, who was producer on Return of the Jedi, thought that it was too weak of a title, so George Lucas changed it to Revenge of the Jedi, and then changed it back.
Wow! So it really was. So see, read it in the
right
book.
There.
Read
April 23rd. Got to get your copy.
bit.ly/ROTJ book. You can get one yourself ordered today, and it'll be on your porch, ringing your doorbell camera. You'll see it. You'll be very excited. You'll leave work early and come home and get it. It is fantastic. But ST and Clayton, thank you so much for hanging out with us. This has been really a ton of fun. Again, the book is mind-blowing. It's absolutely beautiful. Regardless of where on your top 10 list Return of the Jedi is, you have to get it. And honestly, for me, it brought back so many memories, because a lot of my Return of the Jedi memories are linked to things like all the books that were out at the time, but more importantly, things like Starlog and any behind the scenes or coming soon sneak peek we could get. And a lot of this stuff brought me back to some of that. And such an important movie for me as a Star Wars fan, and such a great movie, such a great book. So before we go, Clayton and ST, tell us where people can follow you on the interwebs.
It's still on Twitter, Clayton_Sandell. Doing more on Instagram and the threads, which is just at Clayton Sandell. Probably the easiest 2 to find me at.
Awesome.
And my links are over on my website. It's stbende, BENDE.com. I'm really only on Twitter and Instagram now.
Excellent.
Well, guys, I want to throw one thing in. I'm sorry, Pete. I want to cut you off very quickly. 2 quick things as we get ready to send our friends on their way. Also, Clayton, thank you so much for your story about Jake Lloyd. Was such a special story. It was so great for fans of all ages to get to hear how he's doing, to hear you had the opportunity to have that conversation. Cool. If anybody's watching, hasn't checked that out yet, you can go find it. It's really worth your time. And also, we did kind of mention at the top of the show, but not since you have been on camera, I don't think, it's Clayton's birthday today. Happy birthday, my friend.
Happy birthday, Clayton.
37 coming up on 40, guys.
Wow.
You're almost there. You're catching up.
Getting there.
But seriously, thank you both so much for being
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us. It was really fun to talk to you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming, and we'll see you soon. And we'll be back with more ATG Live. Are you one of the thousands of people who suffered after you watched the Acolyte trailer and realized that the cast was led by an Asian man and a black woman? Did you have feelings of anxiety when only 2 of the 8 speaking parts were from white men? Did the sight of a room full of Padawans consisting of only female humans and aliens elevate your stress level? Then ask your doctor about Get Bentium. Get Bentium is prescribed for the treatment of bigotry, misogyny, and homophobia. Before taking Get Bentium, avoid using social media as it may cause worsening symptoms. Tell your doctor if you have feelings of regret or embarrassment, as these could be signs of recovery. You may not be happy that a queer woman is the showrunner or that the cast isn't all white guys, but at least now you have an option. Get Bent. Get Bentium. Use only as directed. Gatekeeping may be an early sign of racism. Liking a story that other people may not does not make you a shill. Clickbait will only take you so far in life. We are back with more ATG Live, not Force Connect. I'm having that weird sort of flashbacky kind of thing tonight. I don't know what's going on with me, but I'll get there. It's only been 12 weeks. Well, thank you. Well, we had so much fun with them, and but we do have we still have some questions and comments. We got some voicemails, so if people are willing to hang out a little bit longer tonight, we will hit our intercepted transmission segment, and we'll bring Lloyd in. But Lloyd, hit that thing we do.
Where are those transmissions you intercepted?
Lloyd, how's it going, man?
I have a bone to pick with all of you.
Oh, no.
If you're sitting there and you're going to tell me that General Veers firing upon a shield generator is more impressive than Admiral Piet intensifying the forward firepower of the batteries? Return is the best, and I'm just going to say that.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm ready to fight. I'm going to die on that hill.
Well, Lloyd, did we, other than people who were maybe having trouble, I don't think anybody had trouble getting into the thing, but did we, why don't we hit a voicemail first, and then we'll see what people had to say in the comments.
I think that's a better idea because they take my mind off the travesty. That's all I'm saying.
Well, hello there, SSW Network. Of course, hosted by, the amazing Pete and Nick. I was thinking to myself, if you had to pick a Star Wars character as a podcast co-host to talk about Star Wars, who would you pick? I think it's pretty obvious that I'll pick Bulio because that's my boy. He's been in the trenches. He's radical. He's a stoner. He's an awesome man, and it's unfortunate that he may not be able to get back to me because he wasn't ahead of schedule. So let me know what you think. Have a good day.
All right. So I think the question is, who would you want to have as your co-host from the Star Wars universe? If assuming I'm not available, because clearly that's the first choice for you guys. Nick, who would you want as your co-host?
This is probably a pretty easy answer for me. I'm pretty sure it would be Obi-Wan. Okay. Because most of the time when you see Obi-Wan doing things, there's a high premium on, you go take care of that. I'm going to be at the bar having a drink. So, Obi-Wan's my kind of guy. Like, we're going to take our beards, we're going to take our rather obnoxiously growing hair, and we're going to make a drink, and we're going to sit down, and we're going to let other people worry about the things that need to be worried about. So yeah, I think Obi-Wan would be my co-host choice.
Awesome. Lloyd, who's going to be on your Twitch stream with you?
Zeb.
Yeah, I like that.
Hands down.
I think that's a great call.
Just when I die in Call of Duty, I just want to hear Carabast. That's all I want to hear.
Yep, that makes sense.
That's awesome. I'm going to go with, it depends on what kind of show I'm doing. But But I think I want to have Finn, because I think Finn would get excitable. I think Finn would be willing to get a little bit loud, and maybe be louder than me, which may be a challenge that I think we're willing to go at. So that was a great question. Thank you very much for that, Eric. We have one more voicemail, and I think it's a tale from Enid. What do we got?
Hey, fellas, this is Matthew. Hey, I took my son to the Monster Trucks on Saturday night, so I figured it was a great place to ask some people about Star Wars again. So about halfway through, I had to go down to reload everybody on popcorn and drinks and everything. So I was waiting in line at the concession stand. I seen a good old boy set up behind me. He's probably in his mid-20s, so I thought, well, I started talking to him after a little bit, and I said, hey, do you like Star Wars? And he goes, Star Wars? I said, yeah. He goes, well, here's the thing. My kids have been watching on the Disney Plus, and I'm like, okay, on the Disney Plus. All right. And I said, well, what do you like? He goes, well, my kids like that funny guy. And I'm like, okay, well, which one's the funny guy? He goes, well, the guy that talks funny. And I'm like, okay, a little bit more. After talking to him for a while, we realized that his kids like Jar Jar Binks. So his kids have been watching the prequels. I said, what about you? What do you like? And he goes, well, I like those fire swords. I said, fire swords, huh? I said, okay. I said, they're called lightsabers. So fire swords are okay. He goes, man, I'd like to have one of those. So I said, well, there's a couple guys online on YouTube that, probably a mistake on my part. I said they actually built one. So I sit there and I showed him the YouTube videos about the guy making the lightsabers. And he said, I think I can make one of those in my garage. So either I did a really great thing by showing him the videos, or the poor fire department's going to get a call where he burned his garage down. So we'll see what happens, man. I don't know. All right, fellas. I'll be listening on Thursday. Take it easy. Bye.
Sounds like Matt just made a new best friend.
I think so too. What I love about that
in the garage.
I actually was watching somebody the other day doing a 3D print of the lightsaber, and I was like, oh man, I could do that, but I'd need to get a 3D printer and then have patience and all those other things. What I love about that story actually is that his kids love Jar Jar Binks since 2024.
Yeah.
I think that's really very, very cool. So
to be fair, Ahmed Best deserves everything.
Ahmed Best
100%.
needs
really
yes, 100%. I could not agree more. Needs some more Ahmed Best love for sure. All right, Lloyd, we are coming down the home stretch. Do we have any cool comments that we want to share?
We have 3 of them that I thought kind of stood out the most. The first one is from, Chris, when he made you flub after my flub. So he says, well, of course, she'll need to leave her bros. This is talking about Omega. There's Star Squadron by then, for Christ's sake.
All right. If they become Scar Squadron, and I'm saying if, Chris, I'm sorry, but I'm saying if. I feel like I'll owe Chris something, like I don't know what, but something needs to come.
A case of peanut butter whiskey.
There you go. Okay, that's cool. If they do become Scar
Maybe
Squadron,
not a case, a bottle.
Yeah, Nick and I will send you a
trying
bottle
to kill the guy
of peanut butter whiskey. What else we got?
Cam Ray also said,
winner of the first trivia contest ever here on ATGLive.
Yep, I would have won. I'm just saying. My grandmother sewed me an Ewok costume for Halloween, and I literally wore it out. And my favorite toys were all from Return of the Jedi. So I love ASB, but I don't like ranking.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's
fair.
fair.
It is true. I mean, we ask people to rank, and then we do it. And then honestly, like as I'm doing it, I'm like, yeah, but I don't really dislike that one as much as I thought I did. But I can honestly say The Rise of Skywalker will always be number 11 for me at this point.
I hate to say it, but I'm kind of there with you. I'm just...
And what's our last comment? Thank you.
This one is from Matthew. He says, the only time I had to sit in the corner in the first grade was due to a disagreement I had with another kid about the Ewoks.
Why is that not surprising? I think we almost need to get Matt like a little recorder and like go out to Enid and like let's get these conversations caught on tape, and that would
I just want 5 minutes inside his mind to see what it's like.
I want 5 minutes in the minds of people he's talking to, and just
that too.
See all the space.
Guy. See what it's like.
Well,
that's about it. Yeah, those were the three that kind of stood out the most. Although I will say, watching the three of you flip through your preview copies, listen, FOMO is real. First of all,
dude, this book, you must. I would honestly, I was not just saying it because they were on the screen. If you are a Star Wars fan who loves Star Wars books, it's an absolute must. You need to get it.
I already pre-ordered it. During the show, I was like, screw it, I'm getting it.
Awesome.
So I was like, yeah, but
it's working. It's working.
I still have to wait a month. You don't. So yeah.
Well, we'll do a FaceTime, Lloyd, and I'll walk you through it.
Oh, can you read it to
story
me before
time.
I go to sleep every night?
That's right. It's nighty-night time with Lloyd.
Yes.
New Patreon special unlocked. Pete reads
right.
you the book.
Pete reads you bedtime stories of books that we get for people we get to interview. All right. Well, hey, that's going to wrap it up for tonight's show. Thank you so much to everybody who joined us, and make sure to like, subscribe, share, tell all your friends, tell your family, and join us next week when we will have Kelly Knox. We will be talking about her book, Star Wars Dad Jokes, and there's never been a book that's been more up my alley. My family was devastated when they saw that I got a book of Star Wars dad jokes.
They're like, please don't encourage him.
Yeah, they were like, this will not end well for anybody. But Nick, thank you, and may the Force be with you.
Always.
Just one more round, friend, then homeward bound, friend. Don't forget me in your dreams. Just one more song, friend, and then so long, friend. The nights get shorter, it seems. Just one more rhyme, friend. Yes, it's a crime, friend. But you know time, friend, time can fly. So it's good night, friend. Good night, but not goodbye.